This right here is a 2008 Yamaha Venture Royal Star 1300. She does run, but she's got some issues. For starters, this is a, like I said, 1300cc. Might be a little less than that, but it's a V4 liquid cooled. So it looks like a V-twin from the side, obviously, because it's a V. You got two pipes coming out. You come around to this side, and you got two more pipes going out. So V4, we got 4 carburetors, so that means 4 times the trouble. We got clutch issues. For one, it's slipping. Just cruising around here, you don't notice it too much. I didn't anyways. The owner of this said once you get onto it on like a freeway, or once you get onto it on a main road, then you notice some issues. And I took it out and got onto it. You get up into a further gear when you really need that power, and you do notice it slip a little bit. So we're going to be looking at the clutch today. She also has some running issues. It does run. I'll show you. We'll go ahead and fire it up. You can get the dash here. She got, it's got a tape player. I'm surprised this 2008. I'm surprised that new of a bike has a cassette player, actually. And my 1984 Kawasaki Voyager, that definitely has a cassette player, as you can see. But anyways, back to the Yamaha. Oh yeah, I was gonna fire it up. So we're in neutral, correct? Yes. See, she starts up, idle's okay. Little rough idle there, but you leave this thing idling, you can smell the gas. You can almost see a little black smoke coming out sometimes. Actually, how many miles does this? She's got 58,400 miles on it. So obviously she's got some running issues. Might even be just tuning instead of... I'm going to pull the carburetor. I got brand new carb kits for it. So we're going to pull all the carburetors off, clean them out, because this thing's probably been sitting for a little bit. Just looking at it, it kind of looks that way. I don't know. Maybe not. But anyways, we're going to go through the carburetor, take care of those. We also got some brakes. As you can see, the rotors are all scratched up and the pads are pretty much worn down to nothing. So we're going to replace the rotors and pads. Anyways, let's get this thing in the shop and get to work. This poor old girl, I actually finally took it out for a very small ride today. Just went to town and got some gas, did like 20 miles. But she's been sitting all winter. Haven't really done anything with it. There she is. Kawasaki Voyager 1300, straight 6, fuel injected. Anyways, well, the first thing we're gonna do is come down here, drain this oil out, so we can open up our clutch cover here. Looks like a 17 millimeter, sure is. Ooh. On there. Let that drain. Definitely black. And it smells very gassy. Of course, like I said, I think she's getting way too much fuel. You can see it coming out the pipe. Makes sense. That is, the extra gas is going down into the oil. All right, most of that is drained out now. Time to go ahead and remove our clutch cover. Go ahead, pull this off. There she goes. So these Yamahas, a little different. Most would have a like springs, clutch springs here. This does not. This has this one pressure plate type thing. This is your spring that holds all the pressure. It looks like, from what I read up online, that's a very common problem to go wrong with these. you know, this thing's got over 50,000 miles, so I'm sure that one spring is worn out. And like I said, I don't know if you'd call it a spring. To me, it's more of a pressure plate type thing, but it operates the same as the clutch springs you would usually see in here, and they do have a conversion kit. It's a little pricey, but anyways, let's check out these pads. From what I can see, definitely look a little burnt, but we'll be able to see it better once we get this off. On in here. Remove that. Then our plate here. Got a ring. This outer piece. Yeah, as you can see, this clutch is smoked. These friction plates, for one, they're a little worn down. I mean, they got some pad life left, but they are black, which means they definitely slipped for quite some time. Very, very black. Yeah. And we got our plates. You know, these aren't horrible, but we're just going to go ahead. We'll pull all these out. Alright, went ahead and took that nut off. Pull this basket out. Alright, so we'll pull this middle or steel string out of there. Holds these back parts. Alright, so I get the plate. Yeah, so all of these clutch discs are smoked. Definitely need a new set. And then, yeah, we'll get to it. Alright, so we went ahead and got a new Barnett clutch plate kit. It's got the carbon fiber friction and the steel plates all in here, so I'm going to install that. We also went ahead and got a EBC new clutch spring. Replacement diaphragm spring. Diaphragm spring is what they call that. So we're going to be installing that as well. So here's all the new clutch discs. Basically, any clutch disc, you want to do this right here. Soak your friction plates for a couple minutes in oil because you don't want to put these together dry. They may stick to your plates, and we don't want that. We want them to perform perfect as soon as we put them in. So I'm going to go soak these in oil. All right. We'll let them sit for a while. Went and had some lunch, and now we're going to install it. So all these friction pads are the same other than one right here. And this is the first one that's going to go down. Just like that. Then we can install a steel plate. Then we can install this steel wire holder. So it goes in there, then it just goes around. We're just going to pop that in there. A regular friction plate. Set her in there. We'll just alternate back and forth. Steel, friction. Try to line those up. Steel, friction, and the last friction plate. Now we can go through this in the machine. Now that we get this on, we can go ahead and put our washer, get our nut, and torque this down, and then we'll install the rest. Alright, I got our torqued, get the safety tab bent. Let's go ahead and reinstall everything else. I only got so many hands, so I'm using one hand to record. Alright, a little push rod can go in there. That's for our clutch. Now we can go ahead and install this outer clutch cover, or plate, whatever you want to call it. Just like that. Our ring is already on there. Right here we got our new diaphragm spring. Then the holding plate can go on. We'll torque these down. Beautiful. Now at this point, I always like to just grab a hold of the clutch, squeeze it, make sure it's coming apart and it's separating good. Beautiful. Now we can throw our new gasket on. Put this cover on. I went ahead, got all that tightened down. Now we'll have to throw some oil in it. Obviously, I still got to put that drain bolt in first. The drain plug, that's still out of it. I went ahead and removed the oil filter. So we'll get a new oil filter up onto this, fill it up with oil, and then that should be good to go. We'll move on to the carbs next, probably. Off comes the seat. Go ahead and remove the tank. Alright, now I'll have to separate this harness out of here. Get that wire and harness loom out of there so we can get the air box off. There's that. Off comes one and the other. Just gonna pull this air cleaner out of the way here. I can remember how it goes. Alright, you get everything disconnected. Go ahead, get that out of there, and we'll go check her out. So before I go ahead and tear into these carburetors, I do want to confirm that it was running rich. I already know it was running rich, but I want to look at the plugs to confirm that they tell me it was running rich as well. It was popping out the back, which usually is an indicator, in my experience, of lean condition, but it really smelled gassy. So either something's going on, either it's not running quite right, which it feels good when you get onto it, or this thing's just getting way too much gas. Let's pull the plugs. I expect them to be pretty rich, like black, gassy. We'll see. Ready? Go ahead, pull that out. So I got all the plugs removed. These are in order. So this is the rear, front, each side. As you can see, they're all in about the same condition. They're all very black, running super rich. So we're gonna have to figure out what's going on there. Obviously gonna go through the carburetor because we don't know how long it's been, but a stupid thing to do is check the air filter, make sure that's not plugged up. Now when I say stupid, I don't mean as in a bad idea. I mean it's a super easy thing, super obvious thing that should be done. So definitely remove this. I'm in a little dirty, but it's not, nothing's plugged in there. We don't have like a mouse nest or squirrel's nest in there that would prevent much airflow. So back to the carburetors. So what could be going on with this thing? Well, obviously it's got aftermarket exhaust. I mean, these things are huge. So possibly somebody rejetted the carburetors, but maybe they put in way too fat of jets, giving it too much fuel. Or maybe just the carburetor's not properly set up. I will find out when we get in there. First thing I want to do, remove the bowls. Alright. One bowl. Two. Three. Just looking, see if there's any junk in there. Usually, you know, dirty carbs will actually do the opposite of what this is doing. This is, you know, we're getting too much fuel out of this carburetor where dirty jets and stuff plugs orifices up, which causes a lean condition. So we're getting the opposite of that. But I'm going to check to see what size main jets, what size pilot jets, and to see what these air fuel mixtures are set at. So I checked all these air fuel mixture screws here, and they're all set to the same 2.5 turns out. And what I mean by that is I'll take my screwdriver. So right there, that's a half a turn. 1 turn, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. So 2.5 turns out. Half, 1, 1.5, 2. I lost it. 2.5. Now every single one of these was set to 2.5. I already checked them, so that's a good sign that they're all properly in sync with each other anyways, as far as the air fuel goes. Now these jets, I do not like these jets. This is the pilot jet. This is what gives you your initial idle and about quarter throttle, I think it is. There is no numbers on these things, which tells me they are like a generic jet and aftermarket. Not a very good aftermarket either, because a lot of aftermarkets will tell you the size. They should tell you the size, but there is no numbers on the pilots or the mains. So I have no idea what this thing's running. So that's not good. I'm going to see. I got a carburetor kit, which is not cheap for this bike. It was like, it's over $100, 125, 135 bucks, something like that. I believe it was. For this kit, just because, well, for one, it's a kit for 4 carburetors, but it does come with all our needles, seats, which is good in case we're leaking fuel into there, all our carburetor gaskets, seals, and here's our pilots. Looks like our mains are in there too, then our air screws. And it even comes with all our screws. So this is a pretty good kit, honestly. But let's check these pilots and mains, see if we get any numbers on these for the sizes. So yes, this is what I'm talking about. Right here on the pilot. I mean, it's definitely a fine number, but you can see it. This is a 15. And you should be able to see the little orifice through there where you can see my shop towel through that hole. Let's check this one out. I imagine it's much bigger. Oh yeah. So to the right is the pilot jet that was in this bike. And then to the left is the brand new pilot jet that should be stock. You can see how small that is. See how big that one is? So obviously you're getting too much fuel. Now this kit did not come with options, unfortunately. I do have jets though, so unfortunately we're just gonna have to start over from stock, see how she runs, and then adjust from there. Let's check these mains out. These mains are 122.5, and you can see that hole right there. I'll grab, once again, the right one is the one that was in this. Those actually look much closer than the pilots. So the mains might be okay. I'm still going to go back to stock, see how she runs, and then we'll go from there. We might have to do some adjusting. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do. I mean, I'm not going to bolt everything back together. I'll set the tank on there, bolt the carburetors back up, obviously. But, you know, it's just getting way too much fuel right now. So those pilot jets are way too big, in my opinion. That's what's going on. And maybe the main jets are good, but we're going to go back to stock for now. I'll see if I can see what exhausts these are. Maybe there's a recommendation through that brand what to put on there. Most exhaust brands for bikes, four-wheelers, ATV, anything like that, will tell you what you should go up, you know, if you should go up a jet or whatnot. Some slip-ons don't require it, but some do. Because of this, I like to keep, you know, all kinds of different jets from Mikuni and Keenan carburetors on hand. That way we have all the flexibility we need. So one thing to look for on these carburetors, we have one choke actuator. This is your choke. So when you pull this, this chokes all four carburetors. We want to make sure that they're all actually opening and closing, because say a tab breaks off, that could be stuck in the open position. But where all four of these carburetors, all four plugs were running very lean, I would doubt that's the problem, but we're still going to check while we get it. So you can see right here, that's out, out. Where's this one? Oh, in there, and then that one's out. And now we're going to close them. You can see they all closed on this side. Do the same thing. So you can see right here and right there, and they're closing right out. So that's working properly. So I looked all over that pipe. I couldn't find any exact markings or anything like that. But what I did confirm is this is a stock head pipe. Stock head pipes here. So this is just a slip-on. And all the slip-ons I found, they do not require or even recommend rejetting. You can use stock jets with slip-ons. So I mean, look at all this stuff. This is not oil. This is unburnt fuel, because it was getting so much fuel. I mean, it's just bad. Both pipes are like so I'm gonna go ahead and return this thing back to stock jetting, and I bet this thing will run way better. And then we'll get onto the brakes. We got the whole kit, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it. I'll install all the new hardware, the new needle, the new seats, and then, like I said, back to the stock jetting. 2.5 turns out is pretty standard, where it should be. So I'll leave that there, and then maybe we have to fine tune when we get it back running. We'll find out. But it's a good sign. Should be. At least we figured out what was going on. Should have figured out what was going on anyways. So this is a first. So I was looking in the manual, looking at the jets. So this kit only came with 4 main jets, so one for each. Right here, we get a 117.5. Right here, we get a 120. We got a 122.5 and a 122.5. So 2 122.5s, and then 3 different sizes essentially. All the pilot jets were the same. I installed those already. Looking in the service manual here, the pilot jet, yes, number 15. The main jet, so your number 1 cylinder gets, so your number 1 and number 2 cylinder get a 122.5. Your number 3 cylinder gets a 117.5, and your number 4 cylinder gets a 120. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. And your engine layout goes like this. So A, this is, if you're sitting on the bike, A right here is the front of the bike. So this is number 1, number 2, 3, 4. So number 1, so both left sides get the same size jet, which is strange. And then your 3 and 4 get this different size jets. That's why it's always good to read the service manual. Anyways, I'm going to install these how they should go, with the proper jetting. Yeah, so I can only imagine what, these are probably all the same, I'm guessing, which probably doesn't make a huge difference, but I don't know. We're going to go back to factory jetting. So I went ahead, put everything back together, get the carbs. Let's see. choke. Maybe she don't want the choke. Might have been a little gas in there still. There she goes. Might have to adjust that idle. There's it right there. We'll see. When it gets warmed up, I'll turn it down if I have to. Seems a little bit high right there. Sounds a lot smoother. I'll go ahead and let her warm up for a minute and then give her some throttle. Head. A lot better. Still a little popping coming out of there. Nothing like it was. That's a lot better. This thing would be shooting flames out the back and spitting and popping, and that's way smoother. Yeah, a little pop, but a lot more throttle response too. I might try adjusting the air-fuel mixture after I take it for a little ride. Took it for a little ride. Still a little bit of pop, not much. But I'm gonna try to adjust the air fuel a little bit. I'll probably go in half a turn on all of them, see how that does, and then adjust from there. All right, let's move on to the brakes right now. So I can actually try this out because I don't really trust these front brakes right now. Right now the pedal is very hard, so I'm gonna flush all the fluid out and everything. But I mean, they're pretty rough. As far as the pads and the rotors go, the rotors are scarred up pretty bad, and the pads, it doesn't have good stopping power, but we're gonna change that. So I got it jacked up. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the front tire and fender off and everything, and then we'll go ahead and get our new pads and rotors on. Go ahead and loosen this up. Come on over here, 22 millimeter. Whew. That's on there pretty tight. So I just have to have a fork or something to pull that out. Something like that. And I can put a little pressure on it while it's turning. It should slide out. There we go. We'll definitely throw some new grease on that when we install it. I'm going to go ahead and pull this fender as well. If I was to jack this bike up high enough, I could sneak the tire out underneath. But I'd rather just pull the fender here. It's only 2 bolts on each side. Just like that. Then I can actually just roll this tire ahead. Probably have to separate these forks a little. There. Boy, these tires, the front ones, you know, they're not, I'd replace them. The back one's even worse, but it's too bad. I'd like to replace them, you know, right now while the tires are coming off the bike, but it is what it is. Now that I got the dirt off of it, you can see the condition. I mean, they got a little life left, but they are getting down there. So yeah, first things first, go ahead and remove all these bolts. And I can pick this whole cover off. And the rotor. Yeah, look how scarred up that thing is. Dug in pretty good too. And there's a pretty good lip on the edge. So we'll ding those. Gonna make sure I clean the new rotors off in case there's any oil on them. Some brake cleaner. Now we can go ahead and slap these on. Go ahead and remove this. I'll pack a little wheel bearing grease in there. Go ahead and put that back in there. Put our cover on. Now these brake rotor bolts definitely had blue Loctite on them before. We're certainly gonna add some more. Even if they didn't, I'd be Loctiting them just because I like to Loctite all my brake components, especially on bikes. Go ahead, flip her around. Same thing over here. Same thing. Rough shape. Grease that. Clean this rotor off as well. Fresh Loctite on all the bolts again. I went ahead and torqued all these, and now we can go ahead and remove the brake pads off the brake calipers on the bike. Make sure we re-grease those. Take the old pads out. Alright. Get the new pads in. I'm going to go ahead and open up this master cylinder, then I'll push the calipers in. See how this fluid looks. A little dark. I'll definitely drain all that and put fresh in. If the brake fluid was good and I didn't need to drain it, but this stuff looks pretty old. Usually I would just pop that open to vent it and then push these caliper pistons in, and that way it'll bleed back in there. However, I'm draining it anyways, so there's no sense of pushing it back in there. We'll just drain it all out right now, and then I'll push these out. And we'll just take a C-clamp, wind her in, and push those in. One at a time. While that's draining, I'll just go ahead and hook the caliper up. Like I said, my brake components gets a little blue Loctite. Then these slide pins get a little fresh grease. And the same thing here. We slapped the new brake pads in, went ahead and greased inside the boot, and now we're going to throw our caliper on. And we'll go ahead and put the tire on the exact same way we took it off. Sometimes you gotta do a little wiggling to get it in between the brake pads, but get her in there. Alright, we'll bring this on in here. Go ahead and torque this down. Now we can tighten up that locking bolt. Now we're going to need some brake fluid. I have to bleed those lines now. Go ahead and pump it up. I got the front brakes bled. I'm not going to throw the front fender on yet until I go ahead and give her a test run. That way I can clean everything up real good, and then I'll install that. But now we got to move on to the rear, which will be a little more involved. So first thing, we'll remove the side bags here. Looks like that one's either busted or something's going on with it, but we got to unbolt them. Then we'll remove the bottom padding here. Now this should pop right off. Make sure those are all off of there. Go ahead and throw this stuff back in. Just like that. Now if we were just replacing pads, we'd only have to remove this side, and then we're able to get to our caliper to replace the pads. However, we're doing a rotor on this side as well, and it's very well needed. As you can see, this one is very scarred up, and it's very wavy. There's very big indentations in it, not just the scarring, but it's bad. Quite a lip here as well, so obviously the pads wore right down into it. So yeah, tires got to come off, which means we have to remove this side. So go ahead and do the same thing over here. Looks like we got some spark plugs, and we can remove this one. Come back onto this side. You can see this machine is shaft driven, so we're going to unbolt the rear differential back here, and then, well, obviously you got to remove the fender, this the brackets, and then everything can slide out. So we'll do that now. C is just sticking on there right now. Go ahead and remove the rear seat. Just like so. And we're probably going to have to remove this bracket and the wire, so I'm just kind of making sure I know where stuff goes back so I can put it back to its original spot. These little tabs just bend up. We can pull the wires out there. Just snip those very carefully. There. Now all these wires should be disconnected from that fender. So we can start pulling some bolts here. Actually, I gotta jack this thing back up. Alright, we'll start unbolting everything. Go ahead and start removing these. Move on over to this side. Pull that out of there. These top two. Yeah, looked like she broke free. And not quite, I was missing a couple more in here. Now it's loose enough, it'll come right out of there. Just noticing this now, all these rear lights are just cut. So I did not cut that, that's been like that. Look in here, this wire has to go too. Looks like somebody already had it taped up. I'll go ahead and remove that, and then I can pull this out. So that is for the rear taillights, I believe, right? Goes through, yes. So I'm not sure what that other one was for. Maybe they had another light there or something. I don't know. Alright, now we can see what we're working with. That tire, like I said, it's pretty well seen better days. Bearings nice and tight in here. That's good. Rolls freely. Brakes did work. They're just, they're not in great shape. So while we're at it, we might as well replace this differential fluid. Check the level first. Looks pretty dry, so I assume it's full, but it's good to check, make sure she's not leaking. I can see it right up to the top there. The flashlight on here, you can probably see it right there. Yeah. So we're good. The fluid actually looks pretty good, but it's not going to cost much to change this out. So put a funnel down here. There we go. See a little bit of stuff on, a little bit of shavings on that magnet. Go ahead and wipe that off. Yeah, a little bit, not bad. So I'll fill that up when I put the tire back on. For now, I'm going to go ahead and remove the speed sensor. Now I could go further up and unplug it, but it looks to be buried under there. So it's going to be quick just to pull this. And pull that out of there. And I'll shove a rag in so we don't get any contamination in it. Alright, went ahead and got all those off. Now I have to remove the shaft. A 12 right here. Actually doesn't have to come all the way out. I'll just thread that back in a little bit. Pull this nut and washer off. And just like that. Now I go ahead and pull this out, separate it from the shaft. Leave that shaft in. This out. We don't want to lose our spring right there. Go ahead and lay this down right there. Now we can unbolt our brake rotor. Dig that one out. Those are on there. I grabbed the big guy, the 1/2 inch, adapt down. The old rotor off. Yeah, look at that ridge. Now we can slap the new rotor on. Go ahead and lock tight our bolts. We're getting close to being able to take this thing on a test drive. Alright, we'll go ahead and torque these all down right now. And then we'll be ready to throw it back on the machine here. I told you the rear is a lot more involved than the front. You definitely got to tear the whole rear section of this off. Now to do a pad swap, you wouldn't have to do that. However, this thing needed rotors, so it had to be done. Got it all torqued down. Now it's time to throw it back together and reverse. Got the wheel on there, got the shaft hooked up, speed sensor. I'm going to throw the shaft in now. We got some fresh grease on. Go ahead and slide that in. Doesn't actually thread in over here, but it helps get that into place. There we go. These 4 nuts are tightened down now. Tighten the locking bolt. Now we gotta throw some pads in there, so we will go ahead and remove our brake fluid reservoir for the rear. I had to pull that off just to get this out of here. Now I can remove this so I can get that cap off. pull that off. I'm gonna drain the fluid out of this as well. And remove this cover. Get that out of there. Now these are a little bit of an odd size. You don't really need the actual thing. You can get them out with a pair of pliers or whatever, but 5.5 if you want to get around there. That pops out. Don't want to lose that. But it does help. That one is stuck pretty good. You can see these pads where they're worn. I did that with a screwdriver to open those up, but you can see, you know, they were only making contact a few different spots here. We'll go ahead and slap our new pads in, just like that. Slide our pins in. Don't want to forget our little clips. And that one. Put our cover back on. I'll go ahead and slap that caliper on there. Oh, beautiful. These didn't appear to have Loctite. It just looks like rust on that one bolt, but they got some Loctite. Alright. Alright, we got good pedal. I went ahead and bled it all out. Can pull that line off. Oh, I gotta get these things cleaned. I would feel bad while they're all exposed and not clean them up. So I'm gonna get to scrubbing. I'm not saying they're perfect, but look at the difference between that and that. Only took a second, maybe a minute total. Just grab a fresh rag. Beautiful. Have to clean up some of that other stuff after, because now this looks a little out of place. Okay, get the tail section all back together. Everything's put together. Obviously the seat's not on there. But before I do that, the gas tank's still just sitting on here because I wanted to test ride it. I still don't have the front fender on, but I want to throw some new spark plugs in there, so I'm going to do that now, and then we'll give her a test run. Alright, let's go give this Yamaha Venture Royal Star a run. Get the rear end filled up with gear oil, and we're ready to test her out. I've took this on the dirt road a little bit. I have not brought this on the pavement yet, so curious to see how this thing handles. Fired right up. Engine sounds great. And we're off. I gotta say, that V4 actually sounds pretty good. I don't know. It's got good torque and everything. Not quite like a V-twin, but it's got better torque than my straight 6 in that Voyager. Oh, these tires need a little bit more grip. But yeah, we get the brakes. I ran it up and down to break them in a little bit. So now we're gonna try her out. Boy, it almost sounds like a V8, don't it? Of course, it's half a V8, V4. But yeah, we'll see how she does on the pavement. Like I said, I've took it on the dirt here so far. That's about it. So we shall soon see. As far as backfiring, I can let go of the throttle now. It's not popping like crazy. Before, every time you let go of the throttle, it would just pop, 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 throw some flames out the back. It's getting way too much fuel on those pilot jets.
So yeah, much better now. It should be a lot more fuel efficient. I can't imagine this thing got good fuel mileage before, and I'm sure, I think he said he's went through some spark plugs on this. By the looks of the side bag here, there's a set of plugs in there, so I'm guessing she was going through plugs, especially when you're at an idle. You know, maybe when you were cruising it wasn't so bad because you're not really, well, I don't know, you are using the pilot jets up to like quarter throttle, so. But, all right, I'll see you on the tire. All right, we're at the end of the dirt road here, ready to hit the pavement. Let's see how she does. Does very well. I mean, I'm not really beating on it. We're doing, what, 60, 65 almost. She's got plenty of get up and go. Yeah. There's overdrive. We got an overdrive light on the dash. This thing cruises nice. Definitely not as much wind protection as my Voyager. A lot more than that Harley Road King I just drove, but this looks like it's been cut down. So is my Voyager, but I can feel a lot more air coming in because of the louvers here. I mean, it protects your feet basically where the air filters are, but your knees get plastered with air. It's a little cool today. It's a nice little fall day, so it feels okay right now, but after a long ride, you know, this temp, it might be, I'd probably be looking for a little more wind protection myself. Yeah, she sounds good. Like I said, I didn't really get onto there. Just kind of want to see. Nobody coming behind me. Let's see what this thing does when we're accelerating. Oh yeah. Check our brakes, working good. There's first, so we'll accelerate out of first here. Oh yeah. There's overdrive. Yeah, I don't know. It really sounds like, I said a V8, but the more I drive it, especially when you're accelerating, it sounds like a V-twin. Maybe a couple of Harleys driving by, 2 V-twins, or a couple of V-Star 1100s. Seems how you got 4 cylinders here, but yes, sir. I like it. I don't know if this is going to pick up all that wind noise, but I'm getting a lot of wind noise in the helmet here, so hopefully you guys can hear me. If not, well, I apologize for that. Yeah, it's got a nice overdrive gear. This is 4th right here, and I mean, you can still comfortably cruise at 60 without over revving this thing, so yeah, good highway rig. Got that thumping to it like a V-twin. That's something the old Voyager doesn't have, but what it does have is I don't know, she just screams that little 6-cylinder. Completely different. I tell you what, that thing is a comfortable machine to cruise with, that Voyager. Yeah, overdrive's just a little too high for this thing. I mean, you can cruise around in it, but it's not where the RPMs want to be. You know, doing 60, it would rather be in 4th gear. Oh, we got some turkeys. I think the owner is going to be happy. Yeah, so we'll get back. I'll check the, you know, the plug color to see how she's running. I mean, it feels good. It sounds good. Doesn't sound like, you know, there's no popping going on. You know, it's got basically straight pipes on it, so it's a little bit louder than stock, obviously, but I like the sound of this thing. I really do. Yeah. I'm gonna bring it to town, get some fuel, and then I'll meet you back at home.
Made it back home with the RoyalStar. Thing went beautiful. And I was just looking at these exhausts. Look how much it's already cleaned itself out before. Obviously, there's still a little residue on there, but these things were black before. So you can tell she's running much better now. Well, that's the end of this one's story. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're not subscribed, consider hitting that button, maybe the like button, sharing the video to somebody else, giving a comment, whatever you want to do. And I'll see you on the next one.